What if I told you that right now, Pennsylvania farmers are losing over $400 million annually to an enemy that moves silently through the night, destroying everything in its path? This isn't just about a few nibbled vegetables. We're talking about the most destructive wild animal crisis in American agriculture, one that's forcing entire communities in Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Wisconsin to completely rethink how they protect their livelihoods. But here's what most people don't realize about this agricultural war zone. In rural Pennsylvania, corn farmer Mike Thompson watched helplessly as his family's 150-year-old farm operation crumbled under relentless deer attacks. Every morning brought new devastation, entire fields stripped bare, thousands of dollars in crops vanishing overnight. Mike's story represents what's happening across the most affected agricultural regions in America. Pennsylvania alone reports the highest deer damage rates in the nation, with some counties experiencing complete crop failures in areas where farming families have worked the same land for generations. The numbers are staggering. Agricultural experts estimate that deer cause more crop damage than any other wild animal in the United States, with Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Wisconsin leading the destruction statistics. But this crisis goes beyond individual farm losses. It's threatening America's food security. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, an agricultural economist at Penn State University, explains that deer damage has reached catastrophic levels in key farming regions. In some Pennsylvania counties, over 60% of farmers report significant crop losses every season. Iowa, America's corn capital, faces similar devastation. Farmers who once considered deer a minor nuisance now describe them as their primary threat, more dangerous to their operations than weather, disease, or market fluctuations. Wisconsin's dairy and crop farmers tell the same story. Deer populations have exploded beyond sustainable levels, creating agricultural disasters that ripple through entire rural economies. The environmental impact is equally alarming. Overpopulated deer herds are stripping forests bare, preventing natural regeneration, and creating what scientists call ecological dead zones. If you're learning about this crisis for the first time, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts on wildlife management in agriculture. Your engagement helps us investigate and share these crucial stories affecting American farmers. But here's where the story gets complicated and controversial. The solution to America's deer crisis isn't mysterious. Wildlife management experts have known for decades exactly how to control deer populations effectively. The problem is that many people resist the methods that actually work. Regulated hunting represents the most scientifically proven approach to deer population control. States like Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Wisconsin have developed sophisticated wildlife management programs that use hunting as a primary tool for maintaining ecological balance. These aren't random recreational activities. They're carefully structured scientific programs designed to prevent the agricultural and environmental disasters we're witnessing in areas without effective management. The data is undeniable. Regions with active deer management programs report dramatically lower crop damage rates, healthier forest ecosystems, and more sustainable agricultural operations. Pennsylvania's Game Commission has documented how targeted hunting programs can reduce deer damage by up to 80% in affected agricultural areas. Wisconsin's wildlife management initiatives show similar results. Farms participating in structured deer control programs consistently outperform those without management strategies. Iowa's approach combines hunting with habitat modification, creating comprehensive solutions that benefit both farmers and wildlife populations over the long term. But implementing these solutions requires overcoming significant social and political obstacles. Many Americans have complicated relationships with wildlife management practices. Urban populations, disconnected from agricultural realities, often oppose the very methods that rural communities depend on for survival. This disconnect between urban opinions and rural necessities creates policy challenges that prevent effective deer management in many regions. The result? Farmers continue suffering massive losses while deer populations grow beyond sustainable levels, creating worse problems for everyone involved. However, some communities have found ways to bridge these divides and implement successful deer management programs. In central Pennsylvania, the Clearfield County Initiative represents a model for effective deer population control. Local farmers, hunters, and wildlife biologists collaborated to create a comprehensive management strategy that reduced agricultural damage by 70% within 3 years. Their approach combines regulated hunting with strategic habitat management, creating sustainable solutions that address both immediate farming needs and long-term ecological health. The program's success demonstrates that deer management isn't about eliminating wildlife. It's about maintaining populations at levels that allow both agriculture and natural ecosystems to thrive. Similar programs in Iowa and Wisconsin show comparable results, proving that structured wildlife management can resolve even severe deer overpopulation problems. If you're finding this information valuable, please like this video, subscribe for more agricultural insights, and comment below with your experiences or questions about wildlife management. This engagement helps us reach farmers and communities who need this information. But the window for implementing effective deer management is rapidly closing in many regions. Deer populations grow exponentially when left unmanaged. A single pair of deer can produce offspring that multiply into hundreds of animals within just a few years. Once populations reach critical mass, they become much more difficult and expensive to control. Pennsylvania's most severely affected counties illustrate this progression. Areas that delayed deer management now face population densities that require intensive, long-term intervention programs, costing millions of dollars. Prevention is always more effective and less expensive than remediation, but many communities wait until damage becomes catastrophic before taking action. The agricultural costs of this delay are measured not just in destroyed crops, but in abandoned farms, lost rural jobs, and weakened food security for entire regions. Dr. Robert Kim's research at the University of Wisconsin demonstrates that effective deer management programs pay for themselves through reduced agricultural losses within 2 to 3 years. Communities that invest in structured wildlife management consistently see improved farm profitability, healthier natural environments, and stronger rural economies. The economic benefits extend beyond individual farms to entire agricultural supply chains, rural businesses, and regional food systems. However, successful deer management requires understanding the specific challenges in each region. Pennsylvania's deer populations behave differently than those in Iowa or Wisconsin due to variations in habitat, climate, and agricultural practices. Effective management programs must be tailored to local conditions and deer behavior patterns. Pennsylvania's mountainous terrain creates different deer movement patterns than Iowa's flat agricultural landscape. Wisconsin's mixed forest and farmland requires management approaches that work in both environments. These regional differences mean that successful deer management programs cannot simply be copied from one state to another. They must be adapted to local conditions. The most effective programs combine scientific research with practical farming experience, creating solutions that work in real-world agricultural settings. Wildlife biologists work closely with farmers to understand specific damage patterns, deer behavior, and optimal management timing for each region. This collaborative approach ensures that management programs address actual problems rather than theoretical concerns. But the success of these programs depends on community support and participation. Deer management works best when entire communities coordinate their efforts. Individual farm-level solutions are less effective than regional programs that address deer populations across multiple properties. Pennsylvania's most successful management areas demonstrate this principle with remarkable clarity. Counties like Center, Huntingdon, and Bedford have implemented coordinated community-wide deer management programs that consistently outperform regions where individual farmers attempt isolated solutions. The difference is dramatic. Farms participating in coordinated county programs report 75% fewer crop losses compared to those operating independently. The reason is simple. Deer don't recognize property boundaries, so management efforts must span entire ecosystems to be truly effective. The social dynamics of deer management are as important as the biological aspects, and this is where many programs fail before they even begin. Programs that successfully include hunters, farmers, property owners, and local officials create broader support and more sustainable results that last for decades. Take Center County's model program. They spent 2 years building consensus among stakeholders before implementing any management strategies. Local officials met with farming families, hunting organizations, environmental groups, and even suburban residents who were initially opposed to deer management. The key breakthrough came when they organized field trips to damaged farms and degraded forest areas. Seeing the actual destruction caused by deer overpopulation changed minds faster than any amount of discussion or debate. Education plays a crucial role in building this community support, but it must be the right kind of education. Many people who initially oppose deer management change their positions when they understand the agricultural and environmental consequences of deer overpopulation, but only when the information is presented correctly. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who led Center County's education initiative, discovered that technical presentations about deer biology were less effective than simple before and after photographs of damaged farmland and stripped forests. Visual evidence of destruction resonated with people in ways that statistics never could. The education process revealed surprising misconceptions. Many urban residents believed that deer populations were endangered, when in fact they were at historically high levels. Others thought that crop damage was a minor inconvenience for wealthy farmers, not understanding that many rural families were facing bankruptcy due to deer losses. Once these misconceptions were corrected, community support for deer management increased dramatically. The same people who had opposed hunting programs became advocates for structured wildlife management. Please take a moment to like this video if you're learning something new. Subscribe to stay updated on agricultural and wildlife management topics, and share your thoughts in the comments about balancing wildlife conservation with agricultural needs. Your engagement helps us reach the communities that need this information most. The future of American agriculture in deer-affected regions depends on implementing effective management programs now, not later. The window of opportunity is narrowing rapidly due to biological and environmental factors that are accelerating beyond human control. Climate change is creating conditions that favor deer population growth in ways that previous generations of farmers never had to consider. Milder winters mean higher survival rates for deer populations. Extended growing seasons provide more food sources throughout the year. Habitat changes are concentrating deer populations in agricultural areas where they cause maximum damage. These trends are not temporary fluctuations. They represent permanent shifts in environmental conditions that will make deer management more challenging and more expensive with each passing year. Wisconsin's climate data shows that average winter temperatures have risen by 4 degrees over the past 30 years. This seemingly small change has allowed deer populations to survive winters that would have naturally reduced their numbers in previous decades. Iowa's extended growing seasons now provide deer with food sources for an additional 6 weeks compared to historical patterns. More food means higher reproduction rates and larger populations that require more intensive management efforts. These trends suggest that deer damage will worsen without active management intervention, creating a spiral of increasing costs and decreasing effectiveness for communities that delay action. Agricultural communities that act now to implement structured deer management will be better positioned to maintain productive farming operations as conditions become more challenging. They will have established systems, trained personnel, and community support structures in place before crisis conditions develop. Those that delay action may find their agricultural viability permanently compromised. Once deer populations reach critical mass in changing climate conditions, they become incredibly difficult and expensive to manage. The financial mathematics are stark. Pennsylvania counties that implemented deer management programs in the early 2000s spent an average of $50,000 per county to establish effective control systems. Counties that waited until populations reached crisis levels now spend over $300,000 annually just to maintain marginal control. The technology and knowledge needed for effective deer management already exist. Wildlife biologists have refined these methods over decades of research and practical application. The challenge is building the political and social support necessary for implementation. This is where successful programs in Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Wisconsin become invaluable learning resources. They prove that solutions are possible when communities commit to evidence-based approaches rather than emotional reactions. These programs demonstrate that effective wildlife management benefits everyone involved. Farmers get protection for their crops and livestock. Hunters get sustainable wildlife populations that can support recreational activities long-term. Communities get stronger agricultural economies that support rural jobs and local businesses. Environmental benefits include healthier forest ecosystems, improved water quality, and better habitat conditions for other wildlife species that suffer when deer populations become excessive. The economic multiplier effects extend far beyond individual farms. Rural communities with effective deer management attract agricultural investment, maintain property values, and support businesses that depend on farming activities. The choice facing American agricultural communities is clear and urgent. Implement structured deer management programs now, or continue suffering escalating losses from uncontrolled deer populations that will only grow larger and more destructive. The states leading in deer damage, Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Wisconsin, also lead in developing solutions precisely because they were forced to confront this crisis first. Their experiences provide detailed roadmaps for other regions facing similar challenges. Pennsylvania's Comprehensive Management Manual, developed over 15 years of program implementation, offers step-by-step guidance for communities beginning deer management initiatives. Iowa's Agricultural Extension Service provides training programs that teach farmers how to participate effectively in regional management efforts. Wisconsin's university research programs continue developing new management techniques and monitoring technologies that make programs more effective and less expensive to implement. But every community must ultimately decide whether to accept continued agricultural losses or implement the proven management strategies that can restore balance between wildlife populations and farming operations. The decision cannot be delayed indefinitely. Deer populations continue growing every breeding season, and climate conditions continue favoring their expansion. Communities that wait for perfect consensus or ideal conditions will find themselves managing crisis situations rather than preventing them. The deer crisis threatening American agriculture has solutions that work, but only when implemented with sufficient scale and community commitment. The question is whether affected communities will implement them before the damage becomes irreversible and the costs become prohibitive. Your support for science-based wildlife management could help determine whether American farming communities can maintain their agricultural heritage while coexisting sustainably with wildlife populations. Individual voices matter in these community decisions. Farmers, hunters, property owners, and concerned citizens who understand the reality of deer overpopulation can influence local policies and programs that make effective management possible. The 3 million deer currently impacting American agriculture represent both a crisis and an opportunity, a chance to develop management approaches that protect both farming livelihoods and natural ecosystems for future generations. But this opportunity requires action, not just awareness. Communities that act decisively now can solve their deer problems before they become unmanageable. Those that continue debating while populations grow will face much more difficult and expensive challenges in the years ahead. The choice is yours, and the time to choose is now.